Hey folks, welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Spring is here, stuff's waking up. I've got my fall crops mostly out. It's time to plant some tomatoes and peppers. Let's go. So I have flame weeded, and that is a process by which you kill off surface weeds and weed seeds that have found their way into the garden. And now that I've flame weeded, I don't want to go turn my soil or till it up too much. You'll bring up weeds from below, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to leave my beds as they are. My root crops in one of my beds has really done a good job of aerating that soil. And so I'm going to plant directly into there, and I'm not turning anything. I will top dress with compost. My compost bin has been used for the fall. I've got compost that's not ready, but yeah, we're good though. I'm going to put a little bit of compost on the top, and as my compost becomes available, I'll side dress and top dress with that as mulch. But I'm going to put some peppers in, some tomatoes in, some tomatillos, and start working on my plan. I've got my garden plan laid out, and I'm going to begin working on that today. Show you how I plant the tomato plants and peppers. So here are all my seedlings. They've been outside hardening off for a week, and they're ready. Now, I've always told you I'm going to show you where I do things that don't work out very well. And this entire spring seedling effort has not gone very well for me. If you followed my videos at all, you've seen that first I got them off to a bad start by overwatering, and then I was not able to really harden them off as efficiently as I'd like. Some of them look good. They could use a little nitrogen. Some of them don't look good. They were hardened off too quickly and they died. I've also got a bunch of tomatoes that are still suffering from having been overwatered. You can see these yellow leaves, and it's really scraggly. Some of the leaves are even dying. But you can see the new growth, since I've put them outside, the new growth is looking pretty healthy. So from my seedlings, I'll be able to get plenty of what I want in my garden. But this is why I plant so many seeds, is, you know, they're not all going to go well for you. So among these plants, I'm gonna choose the ones that work in my plan. We're going to start planting some of these out. A lot of these tomatoes are destined for containers. A lot of them are micro dwarfs and dwarfs. So yeah, it'll work out. My garden plan is the ideal that I have in my mind, and I've laid it out in a drawing program. And it's just the ideal. Because some of these varieties, I don't have very many of them that are healthy, I can adjust on the fly. But it tells me where I want to plant my tomato plants in my beds, my eggplants, and it gives me a good guide so I know where to put stuff. So here's our layout. I'm going to give my plants a lot of room to spread out. I could fit these eggplants, I could fit 3 across. I could fit 3 tomatoes across, but I found in this size bed it's better to do 2 across and give them plenty of space. These will get very large. They'll fill this whole area out. That eggplant, I'm not sure how large that'll grow, but I'll interplant pollinator attracting plants down in here. Right in this area, I'm going to put some beans on a small trellis. There's another eggplant. I've got a couple of tomatoes selected, and then some pepper plants over here. And as these start to fill out, I will intercrop some other things in there. My lettuce is in the border here. Over here it forms a border against my onions. These onions will remain. This kale's coming out soon. He got a little bit touched by the flame weeder, but that kale will come out, be harvested, and I'll have this area to fill in the rest of my spring and summer crops here in this little bed. Now I'll direct seed my beans right in there, and that will finish off this bed. Over here I've got some more tomatoes and peppers to plant, but I've got some things taking up space here, so I'll just kind of plant around them, and all through this area. Lots and lots of stuff going to grow. Over here again, I'm going to leave my turnips, at least some of them. They've bolted, they're going to seed, and I'm going to harvest that seed. I'll show you how to do that. And you can see these little flowers give way to these seed pods, and that's what I'm after. Once these get nice and developed, I'll pluck these off. There's a lot of them there. You can see the little seeds are inside those little pods. and we'll save some seed. This is a good turnip. These beets will be taken out. These giant cabbages, I mean, look at that. Look at that big head of cabbage. These are my last two cabbages. They're coming out probably this week, and all this mulch is going to have to come off, and I'll flame weed this whole bed, and we'll gradually start filling in for spring. All right, let's dig us a hole. Now this is, again, my expansion bed, and this is new soil, and it's kind of not very good soil. So what I'm going to do is what I like to do with my tomatoes. I'm going to amend the soil with a little bit of Dr. Earth's organic fertilizer and just mix that in there real good. That'll ensure that there's a slow release down in there to give this eggplant some nutrition. And I'm also going to mix in some garden lime, just a little bit here, to help head off blossom end rot, which is a problem with tomatoes, but also with eggplant. So this little dude, there's two of them here. Once they get going, I'll thin them out. Come on, fellas. Pretty decent roots, huh? Not bad. That's a little small for transplanting out in the garden, but hey, they've been outside for a couple of weeks and they look good, so I'm going to put them in. Call that done. All right, that's my first spring plant that's in the ground. And put my label there. This is a Brandywine. This is Sudeth's strain. It's a potato-leafed, very classic tomato variety. See how leggy it is? Remember when I was talking about leggy tomatoes in my videos when we were talking about seeds? I'm going to pinch this off, and I'm going to plant that all the way up to there. And all these hairs along here will give us good roots. So this is my very deep soil. I had carrots in here. It's very loose soil. In fact, there's a remnant. So we're going to dig us a pretty good deep hole here. I'm going to put in a handful of fertilizer, some garden lime. The garden lime keeps calcium available to your plant. It's kind of a slow release calcium, and you don't want it directly on the roots so much, so you mix it up like that. Real easy. This is not rocket science. This is gardening. Gardening, anyone can do it. All right, let's get this plant. Now I do take them out of these peat pots. You can see the roots grow through, but I don't trust these peat pots. They impede more than they help. And I'm going to just peel it off. That'll also help open up this root system a bit. And I'm going to very gently remove this. And the damaged roots, that's okay. We've taken off a little bit of the leaves at the top. And if you're going to take, here's the deal. You want your roots to be able to support your plant, and you want your plant to be able to, keep your roots growing and alive. So if you take off some roots, take off some leaves as well, and the other way around. So we're going to drop that in there. We're going to bury it up to about right there. Awesome. This is some good soil right here. This is got a lot of clay in it that I've brought up when I loosened it up for my carrots. That's why some of my carrots were kind of funky looking. But this clay has got a lot of rich nutrition in it and good minerals in there if we can just keep it breaking up with some organic material over the years. So there we go. There's our first tomato. Now we'll water this in and we're off. Look at that. My first Brandywine of the year. I'll show you as these grow how we're going to prune them or pinch them, and how we're going to train them and trellis them. But for now, let's just get them started and get them happy. This makes me happy. All right, now we have a tomato plant. There's two of them in here. I'm going to pinch that one out. Don't need it. I'm going to pinch these off. We're going to plant it up to about there. This is a zoichka. A zoichka. I've been looking forward to this one. Let's get a hole dug. I just use about 1/4 cup of this stuff. This Dr. Earth's is an organic fertilizer that's I've been impressed with. It's pretty good stuff. And then about a handful, about 1/4 cup of garden lime as well. I'm currently studying mineralization and how to remineralize your soil. My soil needs to be remineralized. And the minerals are what give your plant, they're not going to be like nitrogen or fish emulsion and bump your plant's growth up. But what they're going to do is help your plant grow healthy and let your fruit be tasty. So I'm just going to take that out. Wow, I took off a lot of roots there, but that's okay because we've taken out a lot of the top of this guy too. So we're going to plant him pretty deep. There we go. All the way up to that, where that thing starts branching out. Now we're going to have to come and prune some of this off. You don't want tomatoes touching the ground. That's a good way to give yourself blight. But for now, like I said, we just want to get these plants established and started and help them recover from a little bit of their seedling trials and tribulations that they went through. And yeah, just get them established, and then we'll come back and we will take care of them, prune them, and trellis them. There's a peach pit out of the compost. All right. Got a brown jalapeno going in next. I love peppers. And this brown jalapeno I've never had before. I've never planted this variety. But I've had success with jalapenos. And they just keep growing and growing for me. In fact, last year's jalapeno, I look over there and I see some fruits on it. Even now, it's been fruiting throughout the winter. So good producers, jalapenos. And yeah, this variety is new to me. Lots of worms in here, that's a good sign. Again, these fertilizers are just to help get this plant established and off to a good start. The soil here is fairly decent soil. After all, I've been amending this with compost for 5 years. This is going into its 6th year. All right, I will show you how to top a pepper plant. That was actually one of my biggest videos. The video that launched me into monetization was my pruning pepper plants video. It was very controversial because some people didn't like the terminology that I used. But yeah, that video, that's still my best performing video. I'm gonna totally duplicate that video again with better production value and better explanations on why we do it, if we do it, when we do it, and how. And so look for that in the near future, because some of these plants I'm going to top and some of them I'm not. That video was crazy, man. That's almost got, I don't know, 1 million views, I think. That video is still among the top ranked videos by far on my channel. And I'm not going to link you to it because it's not a very well made video, but you can go look it up if you're interested. This one is Sunset's Red Horizon. Nice red slicer tomato. This one's looks like it's going to be a good performer. Ground's a little more dense over here, although I'm still finding carrots. But lots of worms in there. Look at that guy. You see that guy? I think he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, fertilizer. Now you can see this tomato plant is very leggy as well. So we're going to fix that. I'm going to take all of these leaves off. They look sick anyway. Look how tall that plant is. That's good 8 inches. Yeah, so we're going to plant this plant really deep and give it the best shot at stiffening up that trunk, putting off roots from all along that stem. This guy's going to be just fine. Let's get him way down there. There we go. Perfect. We'll build up around it all the way to there. And all of those hairs along that stem that are now underground have the opportunity to become roots and to really give this plant a nice root system. There we go. Sunset's Red Horizon. This guy is a large Antigua red pepper. See how this is, what the deal is with this. I've got 2 plants in there. I think I'm going to plant them both and see how they do, and then we'll thin out the weakest one. What I have here is some unfinished leaf mold. This is basically just ground leaves, and I'm going to use these ground leaves as mulch for my bed because I've got tons of it on hand, and I don't have a whole lot of other mulch opportunities just yet. My oak leaves need to sit for a while and have the weeds and grass that's in there to dry out some more. It's right here, Garden Gold. This is a lot of my mulch for the spring garden, and every year my oak tree drops all its leaves, or a whole lot of leaves. And oak leaves don't break down very easily. They've got that oily, waxy coating. It takes 3 or 4 years for these to break down. So I just save them up in a wire bin. That will become mulch for my vegetable garden. It's good stuff. So there's the leaves I got from one mowing. This is good stuff. All the green that's in here, there's some grass clippings in here. That'll dry. There's some clover in there, a little bit of weeds, but for the most part, those will dry up, and yeah, the seeds will not be a big problem. This mulch really is a good suppressing agent. I've used this kind of mulch for years, and I really like it. So as the season goes on, there'll be more grass clippings added into it, and that's even better when you get leaves and grass clippings together. That makes an excellent mulch. The leaves keep the grass from matting up too much, and the grass will give some composting in place in your garden. It breaks down much quicker than these leaves do. So I'm going to use this stuff, and this will enliven that soil. That horizon where the soil meets the mulch will become a haven for worms, and bacterial life, and fungi. And this is a good amendment to your soil, but don't mix it in. Just lay it on top, suppress the weeds beneath, and help to retain moisture in your garden. This stuff is good stuff. So I'm going to put this around my little plants. I can't get right up next to some of the smallest ones, but I want to put it around them to, help them be insulated and have water available to them. And I need to cover all the bare soil in this bed eventually. That's a slow process. And then all you have to do is, when you want to plant your soil, just scrape it back, dig a hole, and plant your soil. But you don't want your soil to be bare. Bare soil is not found in nature. Something's going to move in, and we want it to be our stuff. So let's put some mulcher in here. Once these plants start growing up, we'll put the mulch right up against them. Okay, so spring is underway. We have our first plants in for the spring garden, our peppers and tomatoes and some eggplant. And we've mulched heavily, about 2-inch layer of ground leaves, and that ought to replicate the forest floor and kind of give the biology in the soil something to eat for a while. And those worms will come up and eat all those leaves and take them down into the soil and expel them as worm castings, and that's good. So yeah, I'm really excited. It doesn't look like much, does it? But trust me, this will be a jungle in about 3 months, and we'll be eating some good tomatoes and some good eggplant, good peppers. Now I've got to work on these other beds, but I'll save that for another time. Thank you for joining me on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. It's been real nice to have you guys watch our videos, and we're still growing. I'm really humbled by that. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. Happy gardening to you. See you next time. Bye-bye.